Jack, there was a Standard tournament this weekend with New Standard, and I watched some of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, it is. You're listening to Thriving Scrubs. I'm Dave.
I'm Jack.
And we're going to talk about New Standard. Jack doesn't know anything. Jack's been off doing stuff that isn't Magic.
I had a Magicless weekend, and I missed all of the post-Felidar excitement.
You did, so you're the surrogate audience for this one.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what kind of stuff was going on at Star City Games Atlanta. Obviously, it kicked off on the Friday. Felidar Guardian was banned on the Tuesday, I believe. So there was obviously a very short space of time for people to go, oh, I'm not playing Copycat anymore. Yeah. I've got to bring something else. So, yeah, some interesting stuff came up. You know, some interesting new cards in decks, for one thing, just from Amonkhet. And then a lot of interesting ideas. A lot of Mardu Vehicles as well. I'm sorry to say, the Day 2 metagame was overwhelmingly Mardu Vehicles.
Uh-huh.
And that makes sense. It was a few days after a banning. I fully expected a lot of people to bring the deck.
The deck, yeah, you can't go wrong with it.
Because Mardu Vehicles is the deck right now.
Yeah.
Right now, with Copycat gone, Mardu Vehicles is the uncontested #1 deck. For now.
Did it win the event? Is that spoilers?
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
The first thing I want to say, though, about Mardu Vehicles, because I'm not going to touch on it too much, as far as sort of technical changes went, for the most part, it remained the same. You know, you've got your aggressive start for Game 1. You've got your low-drop creatures. You've got your Heart of Kiran, Gideon, the standard package, and then sideboarding into a more control-y sort of game. A lot of Mardu Vehicles decks do that. The main new card that standed out in Mardu Vehicles was... Go on, have a guess.
My guess would be Gideon of the Trials.
Your guess is wrong.
Okay.
It was Cut to Ribbons.
Okay, yeah. The Flame Slash that flashes back and drains them for life.
Absolutely, yeah. Cut to Ribbons, because when you think about it, Cut, it's a really good card.
Yeah.
And it did loads of work, because it does similar things to Walking Ballista in that... You know, when you're playing a Mardu Vehicles deck, it's very aggressive off the start. You're going to get those initial points of damage in. Having something like Ribbons in your graveyard is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge because it means, you know, if you get them down to 7 life, you've got the way to win the game just sitting there. They have to kill you before you can get Ribbons up to a level where it's just going to drain them and just kill them.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, Cut to Ribbons was popping up all over the place.
That's pretty cool.
We're not going to talk about Mardu Vehicles today because people can look it up. The deck lists, I'm sure there were differences between them. Some of them went more Planeswalker-y, some of them went more sort of aggro-y, but the vibe is still the same. Heart of Kiran, Gideon, win.
Yes.
Gideon of the Trials,
Uh-huh.
I didn't see him once.
Wow.
Now, I didn't watch all the coverage. He might have had some screen time, but I did not see a single Gideon of the Trials.
Okay.
Because there's a better Gideon.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing, yeah.
So yeah,
because going turn 3 Gideon into turn 4 Gideon, it doesn't quite work.
Notably absent was Gideon.
Okay.
So the first deck I want to talk about did make top 8 and was not a Mardu Vehicles deck. So I think that makes it just inherently interesting. So this is Caleb Shearer's deck, and this is mono black aggro.
Okay.
So I certainly didn't expect to see mono black aggro going into this weekend. It blindsided me a bit. I was a bit of a fangirl for Caleb.
Yeah.
When he was 6-0, I was celebrating because I thought, wow, this is great.
Uh-huh.
And the thing about the deck is, it kind of sucks. Like, it's one of those aggro decks where you look at the cards in it and you go, oh,
yeah,
those aren't very good cards. But because it's so quick, it's got that edge.
Should I guess deck lists?
Here's the thing. There's 2 1-drops in the deck.
Uh-huh.
Guess what they are?
Dread Wanderer and Crypt Breaker.
No. Dread Wanderer's right.
Uh-huh.
The other 1-drop is Night Market Lookout. 4 of Night Market Lookout. Night Market Lookout.
The 1/1 for 1 that drains when it taps.
Yep, Night Market Lookout. Now, I should stress, I didn't get Caleb's actual deck list from the tournament. What I got was the list he posted on Twitter afterwards saying this is where the deck's going. But it's relatively similar, so there were probably a few things slightly different about the deck he was playing. But
I guess if you're just attacking, and then it's better than Zergo Bellstriker, because even when it gets blocked, you still get a point of damage in.
It did work. That's
silly.
I mean, the deck is one of those where it's not very consistent. You know, even your best hand doesn't look very strong. But it's just, you know, you get in there early and you hope they stumble. And fair play to him, he top-8'd with it, so it can't be terrible. It's not like he didn't play against Mardu Vehicles going to the top 8. You know, he...
How does it deal with... I guess you've got Grasp of Darkness for Heart of Kiran. You've got Fatal Push for most
You don't know what he's got.
All right. Tell me.
Anyway... 2-drop creatures.
Uh-huh.
It's 2 of them.
2 of them. Relentless Dead?
Nope.
Scrap Heap Scrounger?
Yeah, boy. Now, what's the other one, though?
Um...
It's Gifted Aetherborn.
Gifted Etherborn. Oh, okay.
It's Gifted
yeah.
Etherborn,
That makes
which
sense.
is black for a 2/3 with Death Touch and Lifelink,
Yeah.
which is just a really nice, solid card. So obviously, Scrap Heap Scrounger and Dread Wanderer, they're just coming back, doing the mono black aggro thing of, my threat's back, my threat's back, my threat's back. Gifted Etherborn, just doing work. Blocking if it needs to, attacking really nicely. It's really difficult to block. So that was a really good card.
Surely there is another 1-drop creature in this deck, though, in Bone Picker.
Well, that brings me to my next one, the quote-unquote 4-mana creatures.
Yeah.
We got Bone Picker,
Good.
and we got Walking Ballista. Now, Walking Ballista, I didn't know where to put it, so I just said, alright, it's a 4-drop, whatever.
Fair enough.
So yeah, Bone Picker, really, really strong in this deck.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of ways to get a Bone Picker out, and when you do for 1 mana, that's crazy strong.
Yes.
You're just swinging for loads and loads of damage, and it deals with Heart of Kirin. You can block a Heart of Kirin with it. You're not going to win the fight, but you got rid of it.
Yeah.
That's something.
That's fine.
Walking Ballista, as ever, just a really, really versatile threat.
Yeah, excellent way to trigger Bone Picker.
Excellent way to kill small creatures. It does all sorts of really good things. And yeah, actually, Walking Ballista into Bone Picker is a really nice one.
Yeah.
Playing, if it's turn 3, Walking Ballista for 1, shoot something, play a Bone Picker. That's solid.
That's pretty lovely.
As far as removal goes, we've got 4 copies of Fatal Push and 4 copies of Grasp of Darkness.
Good.
No surprises there.
Yep, that'll do.
But it's not done. There's more removal to be had.
Never to Return.
Never to Return.
Hooray!
4 copies of Never to Return.
4?
4 copies of Never to Return.
Wow.
Destroy target creature or planeswalker, and then the flip side of it is exile a creature card from a graveyard, put out a zombie.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But
Both sides are good.
yeah, Never was the one that a lot of decks were playing Never to Return, and it was mostly Never that was getting cast. There was the odd incident of Return being cast, but it was mostly Never.
Okay.
And then finally, 3 Liliana the Last Hope.
Okay,
Because it's a black card that can just win you the game.
Yeah.
It's a really, really strong card.
Yeah, if you come up against control and they don't manage to counter it, then it can be difficult, depending on their deck list, can be difficult to interact with the Planeswalker.
Yeah,
I
so
like it.
it's pretty nifty. So that's the deck. It's just 4 ofs of all those creatures, 4 Fatal Push, 4 Grasp of Darkness, 4 Never to Return, 3 Liliana, and 21 Swamps. That's the deck list.
I love that
That's
deck
it.
list. It's good.
Sideboard-wise, we've got 4 Scarab Feasts,
Okay.
an extra Liliana the Last Hope, 2 Kalitas,
Uh-huh.
an extra Swamp,
Okay, yeah.
presumably for when you need it, 3 copies of Harsh Scrutiny, which is a nice little value card for if you're going down the hand discard route. The Scry isn't irrelevant.
No, it's
The
good.
Scry is not irrelevant.
Yeah,
It's quite a handy thing to have, and then 4 copies of Transgress the Mind in the sideboard as well, just
Okay.
for that hand disruption package that you can bring in. So it's a cool little deck. I think it's quite self-explanatory what it does because it attacks.
Yeah.
You
It's-
kill their
it's
stuff
a
and you get
monocolor
in for
aggro deck.
damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
You like it. You like the sound of it.
Yeah.
Top 8'd. Very impressive. I liked it a lot. But I thought we can't just talk about a mono black deck because really what we all want to talk about is how do I cast Ulamog in this form? And the answer might surprise you. So,
Okay.
How do you cast an Ulamog, Jack? What's been the conventional way to get an Ulamog
You
out?
use Etherworks Marvel.
You do, don't you? Do you?
Do you?
Do you?
Do you use-
This deck doesn't.
Can I make a guess? Is it Bounty of Luxor?
No.
So you left that.
So here's
That's too long.
here's this deck. So this is Ali Antrazi's deck. It didn't top 8, but it placed relatively well. I forget exactly where, but I saw it and I thought, oh, actually that's quite interesting. Let's talk about that. It looks fun. So you kick off with your Mana Dork package. So you got 4 copies of Naga Vitalist.
Yep.
And you got 3 copies of Ulvenwald Captive, which I think is an inspired choice because Ulvenwald Captive being a threat in the late game is something that a ramp deck often needs because you draw all your mana dorks and then you go, if only I could draw a threat.
Yeah, and you've
then
got one sitting there.
You've just got one out.
No Servant of the Conduit, no Channeler Initiate.
No.
That's an interesting choice of mana dorks.
In fact, this deck has a total of 9 creatures in it. You've got 2 copies of Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger.
Okay,
Just to wrap it all up.
Yep.
But what else are you ramping to? So you got Ulamog, you got 2 copies of Ulamog.
Yep.
You've also got 2 copies of Pull from Tomorrow.
Yes.
Just to get mad mana out, draw a stupid amount of cards, discard one of them. So that's the payoff.
Yeah.
That's the payoff part 1. There's a few other nifty little things this deck can do. So it's got some cheeky one-offs. It's got a cheeky one-off Crush of Tentacles.
Okay.
And a cheeky one-off Part the Water Veil.
Lovely.
Love both of that.
Yeah.
Just catch people completely off guard with stupid blue mythics.
And in this is renewal?
Yes. So the rest of the ramp package, you've got 4 Hedron Archives.
Yeah.
Which, no surprises there. It taps for 2 colourless mana. It's a very, very good card. You can draw 2 cards with it if you flood out.
Yeah.
It's a nifty little one. And then 4 copies of Nissa's Renewal.
Okay.
So this deck goes pretty hard on just getting those lands out. You've also got 3 copies of Lumbering Falls in there, so late game, if you've got loads of mana and no threats, you can just activate your Lumbering Falls.
Yeah.
But there's a few other weird things going on in this deck that I did not expect to see. So for one, we have 1 copy of Commencement of Festivities. You get a point if you can tell me what that card does.
Main deck.
Main deck Commencement of Festivities.
Commencement of Festivities is just a fog, isn't it?
Yeah.
Prevent all combat damage your opponent would deal.
Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to players this turn. Because that's what you're doing. You're just ramping and it doesn't matter. So you've got 1 of them, and then you've got 3 copies of Haze of Pollen, which is prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn, because it's cycle for 3.
Okay.
Which, that cycling cost becomes slightly less of a burden when you're ramping and just ramping and ramping and ramping. So the idea is, you get your mana dorks out, you stall, and then you eventually get an Ulamog out, or you Crush of Tentacles to just completely mess them up. There's all sorts of nifty little things you can do. We've also got some counter spells. I'm sure, it's blue-green, there's some counter spells. So you got 4 copies of Censor.
Yep.
I know you're a big fan of Censor. Why don't you talk about Censor?
I've been playing with Censor for the past few days, and I'm in love with that card.
Yeah.
The worst thing it does is cycle, and cycling is fantastic.
And alongside Censor, you have 4 copies of Commit to Memory. Which is 3 in a blue, put target spell or non-land permanent into its owner's library, second from the top. And the cool thing about Commit, Memory, I'm sure you can actually do some quite fun things with this deck as well, but with Commit, it's a cool little counter spell because you can either counter something, or if they don't play anything, you can bounce something. You can bounce something back, and you're still gaining ground when you leave up that 4 mana. So I think it's stronger than it initially looked.
I think we missed Commit to Memory as a strong rare, and the best interaction that I'm aware of with Commit to Memory is Torrential Gearhulk, which, because split cards, the rulings on split cards always seem to be slightly off.
Yeah.
There was the Goblin Dark Dwellers Boom Bust combo that was completely ridiculous.
I believe that rule has since changed,
It
by
has.
the way.
Well, but I thought, because they changed it, there's also Beck and Call would allow, with Brain in a Jar, would let you create 4 1/1 birds and draw 4 cards for 3 mana.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. But I thought they might have learnt their lesson. But the thing with Torrential Gearhulk, to get back to it, is that you can cast Memory off of Torrential Gearhulk at instant speed when it suits you, when it would screw your opponent, when you have just bounced all their creatures to their hand. You can do some really fun stuff with that card. So I look forward to playing with Commit to Memory.
Yeah, so I didn't see this deck on camera, so I don't know how often the memory side of it came up. I can see it being a thing.
Yeah.
I can see it being you play all your ramp dudes and then you go, I'd like 7 more cards, I'd like to draw an Ulamog because I can cast it and actually play the memory side of it. But even Commit on its own, because if you're ramping that out turn 3, that's good.
That's really good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's a really good counterspell. So I believe that is the deck. Yeah, so you've got those creatures I mentioned, then you've got some ramp spells, you've got some fog spells, you've got draw cards, you've got all sorts of nonsense going on. And then 2 copies of Ulamog to win the game with, 3 copies of Lumbering Falls, you can win with Crush of Tentacles if you wanted to. There's all sorts of weird ways this deck wins the game. No Nissa. Weirdly. No Nissa going on. I can only assume they tried it out.
Yeah, there must be a reason for that.
And it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Now, there is a sideboard for this deck as well. So, yeah, some stuff to bring in. I mean, all the sideboards were a little bit weird. Because people were, figuring out, what am I going to be playing against? What can I actually do against this stuff? So in the sideboard, you got 2 copies of Walking Ballista.
Okay.
Fair enough. 1 copy of Manglehorn.
Yep.
Sphinx of the Final Word, just when you need to bring in an extra threat. 2 copies of Tireless Tracker. I see that. You've got a Metallurgic Summonings in there, which I like. A cheeky little one of. And then just some general sort of, I don't want to go through all of it because it'll be there on the screen. You can read it. 1 Kefnet.
Yay!
Just a bunch of nifty little things. Nothing that makes me go, oh, they've got a whole new... It seems like the plan is just bring in more threats. Bring in more fogs, or bring in negate. There's loads of... It's quite a broad sideboard, which is fair because it's the first week of the format.
Stay versatile and stay open.
No one knows what's coming. So I thought I'd leave the best till last for you. This is, I think, going to be your favourite deck out of the decks we're discussing, because this is Emma Handy's deck, and Emma Handy was playing Jeskai Control.
Yay.
So let's start off with the win conditions.
Okay.
There are 8 cards in this deck that I would consider to be win conditions. 4 of them are Torrential Gearhulk, which flashes in, gets an instant back, and starts attacking for 5.
Yep.
The other 4 are Wandering Fumarole, because there are 4 creatures in this deck. They're all called Torrential Gearhulk. Yep. Wandering Fumarole is the only other way to deal damage to a player, so it is very much about just ruining their day, just stalling them out, doing the counter spell game, and just stopping them from achieving anything. So counter spell wise, you've got 4 copies of Censor, got 2 copies of Disallow, 2 copies of Essence Scatter, you've got a Negate, and you have 3 Void Shatters. So loads of counter spells.
Yeah,
I feel like this is right up your alley. So yeah, all of them with different effects, but all of them with, they're relatively early game plays, and they just stop your opponent from doing what they want to do, which is kind of the point. Alongside that, you've got card draw. You've got 4 copies of Glimmer of Genius, which scries 2 and draws 2 and gets you 2 energy. And then once again, 2 copies of Pull from Tomorrow. And I think 2 copies of Pull from Tomorrow is probably where you want to be.
Yeah, I would.
I know you would disagree, but I think
no, I'm
2 is
not. I'm
enough.
not disagreeing. I'm just I might play more in the face of all logic.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2 sounds good because if you're casting it for anything less than 5, then you're not happy with it.
Yeah, so Emma Handy's argument was with Pull from Tomorrow, there's already a bunch of expensive spells in the deck. You've got Torrential Gearhulk, you've got some board wipes.
Yeah.
You can't run too many of them because you are just going to get run over by Mardu vehicles and the like. So
yeah,
that was the amount they settled on there. Got some burn spells, 4 copies of Harness Lightning, which is, I've heard people compare it to Terminate, and I don't think they're far off because it's just excellent. Yeah. Like, there's so many things it kills, it's so efficient at killing things. It just does a really nice job there for a really good cost.
Yep.
And then 2 copies of Magma Spray.
Yeah.
Exiles Scrap Heap Scrounger for one thing. Just exiles anything annoying.
Exiles Dread Wanderer. There's quite a few stuff that's returning nowadays.
Yeah, and then we got... Yeah, this deck's quite interesting because there's lots of different cards in it because there's loads of one-offs. 1 copy of Cast Out.
Okay.
2 copies of Immolating Glare.
Lovely.
1 copy of Forsake the Worldly. Do you know what Forsake the Worldly does?
Yeah, it's an instant that exiles target enchantment or artifact and cycles for 2.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I didn't even know that card existed. And then I looked at the deck list and went, what is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, Forsake the Worldly in there as well. I mean, again, exile target artifact or enchantment main deck suggests to me people were expecting Mardu vehicles.
I think that people would have been expecting it.
And then finally, 2 copies of Fumigate.
Nice.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
You've got to kill creatures. Unfortunately, there's no board wipe that properly deals with Mardu vehicles right now. But yeah, the full deck will now pop up on screen. So there it is. Again, Wandering Fumarole and Torrential Gearhulk are the only real ways to do direct damage to your opponent. So I guess a lot of games were won just by completely locking the board straight up,
This isn't a deck that was unheard of before the banning or before Amonkhet. This was the 4 Torrential Gearhulks and spells.
Yeah.
Is a tried and tested tactic. It was just slightly dangerous because you had to have the exact right card at the exact right time to deal with Sahelia Felidar Guardian. But now that you don't have to, you can afford to be a little bit more risky, I guess.
Yeah. The sideboard, pretty standard control sideboard. You've got a few extras of the one-offs, so an extra Cast Out, things like that. A Sphinx of the Final Word, just for games where you... I believe that's for the control mirror.
Yeah, for the control
mirror. So you bring that in for the control mirror. You've got 2 Archangel Avacins and a Linvala.
She's here.
Yeah.
Archangel Avacyn.
Archangel Avacyn
We found
has
her.
returned. Welcome back. Welcome back, Archangel Avacyn. She's back in the sideboard. 2 copies of Nahiri.
Okay.
Just for, there's this sort of value package to bring in against control. Nahiri seems much better against control to me than it does against, I can see it in other places, but in general, I think Nahiri, you bring it in against control.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 decks that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, there's no copycat. The top 8 was a little bit disappointing for me, and I think it was a little bit disappointing for quite a few people because there were 5 copies of Mardu vehicles in the top 8.
Okay.
Now, the top 16 was a lot more diverse. It is very much a case that Mardu ran quite well. The better players. There were so many Mardu vehicles decks. It was pretty likely a lot of them were going to make top 8. But yeah, there was some interesting decks kicking around. There was a red-white humans deck running Hanweir Garrison.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Which is the 2/3 for 2 and a red that makes 2/1/1 humans that are attacking whenever it attacks. Yeah. And that combining with Gideon, ally of Zendikar, making the attacking humans 2/2s.
Yeah, that's big.
There's loads of exciting
I
things
assume
there.
that's always watching Glory Bound Initiate.
Yeah. It's got all sorts of new additions, but the deck as it stands remains very similar. It's still low cost humans, always watching, and just swinging for loads and loads of damage. So that was quite fun. And then Caleb Shearer was obviously there with Mono Black, and then the last deck was Black Green Delirium. Welcome back.
It's back. Yeah.
Guess who's back? Back again without Emrakul. Oh well.
Ishkana's enough.
Ishkana's enough.
Yeah.
It's got new tools as well. There's all sorts of things that it can do with the new cards. You can put stuff in your graveyard.
Yeah, cycling's big when you're looking for Delirium.
Cycling's big. Yeah, it's what I'd like to sort of come down to with this is, yeah, there were 5 copies of Mardu vehicles in the top 8. No, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what the actual success rate of a Mardu Vehicles, because I assume it was basically at least 50% of the field was Mardu Vehicles.
Pretty much, yeah, something like that.
So
Day 2 at least, it was a huge proportion.
Yeah, so if 5 made it to the top 8, then that's not an unreasonable statistic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too
We haven't
concerned
done the
about
research,
it.
obviously.
No, we never do the full research, but those are the sort of decks of note.
Yeah.
On a final point, to close the episode out, here's a point that was raised by the Star City Games commentary team, Patrick Sullivan and Cedric Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
Is Mardu Vehicles really an accurate name for a deck that runs one vehicle? And 4 artifacts in total. No, sorry, 2 artifacts in total. 4 copies of Heart of Kieran and 4 copies of Scrap Heap Scrounger. Is it really fair to call it Mardu Vehicles? So there's been some alternate names flying around.
Okay.
We've got Mardu Gideon.
Yeah.
We've got Mardu Pushed Mythics, I quite liked. We've got Heart of Mardu.
Yeah.
Where do you stand?
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Did it ever have more than that? It used to run Fleetwheel cruisers when
Smuggler's Copter.
Yeah, obviously Copter was around.
And the dwarf, the 3/1 dwarf that crews stuff and makes it bigger.
Oh yeah, that one. I know.
You
its
know,
name.
and the guy.
I know its name. It's on the screen now. But
yeah, it's on the screen now. Give it a read. But yeah, it's much less vehicles focused now, and it's still an
Veteran
aggro.
motorist.
There he is, veteran motorist. Yeah, so it's interesting. There's no vehicles apart from Heart of Kieran.
Yeah.
And it's very much a sort of, once it sides into the Planeswalkers and the value, it becomes as much a control deck as it is an aggro deck. So
yeah.
It's a really, really versatile deck. What beats it? What's your money on? What's going to be the contender?
Having not even watched any of this.
Yeah, no, that's what I like about this.
I find it difficult to speculate. Well, to be honest, the Engulf the Shore deck, LSV uploaded a video and came up against Mardu Vehicles. To be fair, the player didn't seem to be focusing on the game at all. But Engulf the Shore is a surefire way to bounce Heart of Kieran, to bounce Gideons.
Yeah.
And then you have just such an incredible counterspell package. Now that we have 2 mana counterspells, Essence Scatter, Negate, and Censor, that's really essential to be able to interact on turn 2, because having to wait until turn 3, Mardu Vehicles have already played a 1-drop and a 2-drop. And if you're on the draw, they've played a 3-drop as well. So I guess that's possible. Jeskai Control.
I mean, that's the thing about Control, isn't it? Bringing Control to a new format is really difficult.
Unless you're Shota Yasuoka.
Unless you're Shota Yasuoka, which I'm not, and
No.
I never will be. So yeah, it's tricky, because I'm sure the face of Control is going to change. My money's on Black-Green Delirium. I think Black-Green Delirium is going to get right back where it belongs, because Black-Green Delirium was held back by Copycat. That was it. It was that Black-Green Delirium could not win quickly enough against Copycat.
Yeah.
You know, you've got your Grim Flayers, you've got a chance of killing the Saheeli Rai when she was out. But yeah, it kind of got pushed out of the meta because Copycat took up so much of the meta. So I think Black-Green Delirium is going to come right on back.
Yeah.
I'm not, we could see some Black-Green +1/+1 counters based decks. Let's just hope it's not Mardu Vehicles versus Black-Green, though. I'd really like to see some more of these blue decks.
Yeah, I pray for some new archetypes, some whole new decks, entirely new decks. That's why the mono black deck is exciting, because I've never seen it before. That's always a cool thing.
And red-white humans.
Yeah.
I mean, red-white humans is still a good deck.
Yeah, I mean, we won't really know until the Pro Tour, I guess, because that tends to be when people bust out what they've got, what they've been working on.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that was when we saw Cryptolith Right for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
That was when we saw the Mad Affinity deck at the Origins Pro Tour.
Are we going to see Harvest Season at the Pro Tour?
Nope. I will say right now, we are not seeing Harvest Season at the Pro Tour.
Well, I think we will. I think that card's really good. I think if you build the right deck around it, it's crazy strong.
Tell Matt Nass that.
Look, Matt Nass is already on it. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I think that's all there is to say about New Standard. There's some new decks out there. The end is not nigh. I think the banning has been good.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see if Mardu Vehicles will continue to dominate. Hopefully it won't. We'll see what happens at the Pro Tour. So yeah, that was the weekend that you missed.
Yeah, it was a good one.
And yeah, so if you watched the video, if you got this far, give us a like, give us a comment, give us a subscribe. It means a lot to us. Because, every little thing that happens on these videos, we're watching like hawks. We're watching it 24/7. We'll come say hi. We'll say hi. And yeah, let us know in the comments. Did you see any decks you like? Any decks you've been testing that have been doing really well? How do you feel about Mardu Vehicles? Are you a fan? I know most people, even people who play Mardu Vehicles, aren't pro Mardu Vehicles, are they? Like no one's sort of saying, "Oh, this is great. This is a really fun deck. I love it. It's so intricate." I mean, it is intricate. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, what do you think? Let us know. And thank you very much for watching / listening / whatever you're doing, hoovering with this on in the background, accidentally ending up on this video while you're asleep. You know, whatever you're doing.
It all counts.
It all counts. We love you. Good luck. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.